he said the most amazing thing is that the things that came up in that moment wasn't winning these awards or medals.
Don't matter.
He was thinking about people that he went to school with. It was like all the mates that he used to hang around with. And I don't know what that means, but I was like, isn't that amazing that like fulfillment, I'm not saying it won't come through your work, but I think fulfillment is more about you as a person and how you feel about yourself.
For a while I was in this conflict situation. I didn't want to let my mum and dad down, but also I'm doing something that I actually don't really enjoy. And over the years you feel so much resentment and you hate it, and it's like it sucks the life out of you.
I think if you're pushing and driving a business forward, it has to have passion behind it.
And I think a lot of people spend many years, decades, creating
waiting,
something that they actually aren't very happy in. And I think it's almost like grieving something. You just say goodbye to something. And, you know, and people sort of, you think, well, people know me for this.
Identity.
It's an identity shift. Welcome to this week's podcast, Real Talk, where we are talking real life, real business, real conversations with my co-hosts, Lorraine Lewis, Siobhan Mears, and Hayley Appleby-Burt.
Hello.
Because she's the poshest of the group.
It's just a made-up double barrel as well. It's not actually hyphenated or anything.
It's just made up.
Yeah, I actually am just Hayley Burt officially, but I wasn't ready to let go of my maiden name, so I just call myself Appleby-Burt.
Isn't there like one of the a famous singer with it? Appleton, that is.
Oh, yeah, one of All Saints. Yeah.
So it's Hayley Burt official.
No, it's Appleby-Burt. Let's not lose.
Okay, sorry.
But it's awful. But yeah.
So how have you ladies been? What have we been up to?
Oh God,
just easing into the new year. Or should we say easing, just diving straight in? So.
Diving straight in.
Slowly easing back.
Easing back. But it feels good to be in a fresh
good way.
new year.
Yeah, amazing.
2026 is the year.
The year.
Yeah,
you say that every year, but the
year of the horse. Year of the horse.
What does that mean?
So what that means is, so last year was the year of the snake, which was a year of shedding, letting go, and I think we all felt that on some level.
Definitely.
And this is a year of momentum. Trojaning forward.
Yeah.
So all of what you let go of last year in all capacities, you are creating space for the momentum to build.
Oh, I love
We're
it.
going full on galloping.
We are galloping forward.
We are galloping forward.
Yeah.
So actually this fits quite well with this week's podcast topic. So this week we are talking about when success feels surprisingly unfulfilling. So, you know, when you like have a goal for yourself and it might be something you've worked towards for a long time, or it might be a project or something you're working on, and you get there and in your mind you had this like big idea, romantic idea of this is what success looks like for me. Can't wait to get there. And then you get there and it kind of feels a little bit disappointing. So I wonder whether you've had this experience and how that might look like for you. And I think it's really, topical, because coming into the new year, it's about redefining what that might look like for us. So
I've definitely had that.
Yeah.
So I would say on paper it looked great. It's not to say there weren't elements that weren't great, but building up an agency team, a team of 10 working with me, working with great clients, speaking on stages all around operations, systems, all of that. It sounds great, but it just wasn't lighting me up. It wasn't lighting me up. So ticking boxes, okay, when I get to this milestone, when I expand the team in this way, when I do this, and behind it all, there was elements that were great, and I'm very grateful having built the team, because it allowed me to be there with my children when they're very small and not have to fully be on all the time, because you've got other people that are still working in the business when you're not. So forever grateful for that. But it was, I think it just felt heavy after a while. It just felt heavy. And I just thought, I think if you're pushing and driving a business forward, it has to have passion behind it. And if you're doing what you feel like you should be doing, which I felt like I had taken a lot that I'd learned in the corporate world, like business support, brought that into the online space. It's not logical, which a lot of people do. And then I up-leveled that, so doing business strategy, operations. It was a case of like growing to the next logical step. But really, when it started to excite me is when I threw the logic out and went with my heart of what I really wanted to do.
So
for me, on paper, it's great. And many people would love to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So really grateful for it, but it just wasn't for me. I realised that all that glitters wasn't gold, because behind it all, it wasn't lighting me up. And that showed for me when it came to, yes, I spoke on stages on the topic as well. And I'm still very much about the business strategy as well, but the mindset behind it. But all of these systems and all of that, it just wasn't lighting me up. And I think that stopped me wanting to keep pushing it forward. So you got to like that resistant point, because you have to want to be able to just jump on camera, talk easy about something. I think it has to light you up. Otherwise, you just pull back.
It's just much like hard work.
Hard work, heavy.
Yeah.
So I think on paper, what looks like success and what the shoulds, sometimes when you follow that path and you get there's nothing wrong with it. But when you get to the next level in that path, it's not all. You makes you realise that it wasn't what you thought it was.
Yeah. I think what you said around, what you write on paper and actually listening to your heart are two different things. I think we are so in our heads a lot of the time that we just think logically most of the time rather than emotionally.
And and
it's really hard not to do that, because that's just the way we're raised. And certainly from, I've spoken before about my kids graduating uni and going out into the workplace and stuff. And, my son was lucky enough to have 2 job offers. And I've been so insistent on saying to him, make a decision from your heart. Stop overthinking everything. Yeah. Go with your intuition. Listen to what your body's telling you when you think about things, and make a decision based on that and not on money and all of that type of stuff, because that will come. If you're really enjoying what you're doing, the other things fall into place. But I mean, that is 51 years of experience.
That's what I was going to say.
That's experience.
Yeah. He's so lucky to have you, though, Pippa, that you're able to impart. And when my children get older, that's what I want to be able to do. So from my lived experience, that was just not on the table for me. It was and also behind it all sometimes, and from my experience in the past, it was coming from doing the healing and the inner work. It was coming from survival energy.
Yeah.
The growth, the push, the strive, the go. And I was afraid to almost lose my drive, because that's something that I love, part of that. But I haven't lost my drive, but being able to really connect to myself, like you say, into the body, into feeling into whether this is the right move, was something that was different for me, because I was very much driven by the need, the push, the desire, the go, the drive.
You need to have a lot of faith to go down and trust in yourself.
You do.
Or whatever you're trusting in to go down that route. But Lorraine, for you, this must be, we know your story about your law and career.
That is exactly what it is. So, because it's something I was thinking about actually quite recently, about how I did law, and that was my goal and my sole focus from I was a child, really. But I was thinking about what made me want to do it. And when I thought about it, my core purpose is I really want to help people in whatever capacity that may be. And I want to be able to advocate for people who doesn't have anyone to advocate for them. So I think that's why I naturally went down the criminal law route, to help victims and witnesses of crime. So from I was probably about 10, my whole life was shaped to get to that. I needed to get my law degree, become a barrister. And when I did it, so I qualified when I was 21, and I was really lucky.
Which is incredible.
Which is really young.
Having got to have a 21-year-old daughter, that's
I
incredible.
was way out my depth. I was way out my depth. Yeah, look how
When you graduated law.
Yeah, so I was way out my depth when I started, and I was quite fortunate to get a job really quickly, which is really hard to get. But as soon as I got it, quite quickly, and I realised actually this wasn't for me, and I couldn't actually make a difference in the way that I wanted to, because the system's not designed for it. And then I felt a real sense of guilt, because it cost, I think by the time I finished, I was in £50,000 worth of debt, and my mum and dad had invested a lot in it, and they didn't really have money to invest, so they sacrificed their own selves to enable me to get it. So for a while I was in this conflict situation. I didn't want to let my mum and dad down, but also I'm doing something that I actually don't really enjoy. And over the years, you feel so much resentment and you hate it. And it's like it sucks the life out of you. And it was only when Lee's mum got diagnosed with cancer when she was 25, when I was 25, and Lee and I were sitting in those wards, that I actually thought, the finances is just not enough to keep me driven here, to be here. And I think that's then what set me on that journey to think, is this worth it? This is a success. What could I really do to help people? And it's led me on a completely different path. So if it wasn't for that, it kind of forced me to look at my life and think, actually, is this it?
Could you imagine if you were still doing law?
It would have destroyed me.
You know, it would have
absolutely.
You'd be a different person.
Oh yeah, and I see it with there's people still there, and they're like, oh, let me just ride it out to retirement. I was like, that's like
so ride out your life.
So many people do that,
and I wasn't prepared to do it.
Yeah,
that's fear-based, though, isn't it? That's what it comes down to.
I think so, and I think a lot of people spend many years, decades, creating something that they actually aren't very happy in, and I think it's almost like grieving something. You just say goodbye to something, and and people. Sort of, you think, well, people know me for this.
Identity,
it's an identity shift.
I think also, though, I think it's to do with, I don't think people know how to create opportunity.
They don't.
Or the power of trying to create opportunity. Because I had a conversation recently with my niece's partner, and he's in a job that he's so loyal, he's been there for years. It's a little family-run business. He knows that there's nowhere else to progress to, and they don't have the finances to pay him more. And I said to him, look, well, why don't you just start even seeing what's out there and having conversations? Doesn't mean you have to take any steps, but at least, and also have the conversation with your work. And it was like, I realised people they just don't know how to go and maybe create space for opportunity and options. And it's interesting, because when we're sat here talking about feeling unfulfilled, and I'm sat here going, what's coming up for me? And what comes up for me is, so there's two things. I'm very lucky in that I've never felt unfulfilled in my work. Like, generally, I love it. And I think, we've said about, I like this freedom. I think because it's me, I control it. Do you know what I mean? And because it's me, I get to connect with my clients so closely that it feeds my need for helping people and making that impact. So I think I absorb that. But I definitely feel like when you're saying unfulfilling, and then I thought, but the word unfulfilled for me comes up in that I'm definitely someone that, this is a constant theme, where I seem to just get where I get to. I live, it's my vision and just my passion that things will always be okay, that kind of just gets me through. And that's what gets me up every day and makes me enjoy it, right? But I couldn't actually tell you what those actual goals are and how I get there, or do I get there. Sometimes I just naturally get there and sometimes I don't. So the word, it's not unfulfilling, so don't feel unfulfilled in that respect. But for me, what comes up is unfulfilled opportunity. So I'm very much someone who, I might have done something and then I might have an idea. I mean, if I had fucking every notebook I've ever written an idea in and actually stuck and bloody done something with it, I think, wow, where would I be? So it's that for me. It's the unfulfilled potential of an opportunity that has come up, or an idea that I've just got busy and carried on and I've not spent time doing it. That's what comes up for me.
That's sort of like my clients. That's what we talked about in one of those episodes about evolution, is that either the heaviness, the resistance that I talked about, or it's that knowing I know that I'm not quite fulfilling my potential. And a lot of the clients, when I'm working with them, they say the one thing they don't want is to live in regret. What could have been is what you could have had. There's that space. So creating space to really explore that, I think, is so powerful.
Well, also with fulfillment as well, I can't really share this story in depth because it's not my story to share, but James is very close with someone who's been through serious operations. He's had several brain tumours, but he's like a gold medalist athlete. Do you know what I mean? He's lived an incredible life like that. But his latest surgery, he actually went through almost like a near-death experience. And he said the most amazing thing is that the things that came up in that moment wasn't winning these awards or medals.
Don't matter.
He was thinking about people that he went to school with. It was like all the mates that he used to hang around with. And I don't know what that means, but I was like, isn't that amazing that fulfillment, I'm not saying it won't come through your work, but I think fulfillment is more about you as a person and how you feel about yourself.
And that's our last episode, actually, when we were looking at and I referenced a tapestry of your life. It's like being in spaces that enrich you in other areas of your life. And often when we're driven, we put all our, and I've definitely done in the past, obviously not with children, you create space for them, but for yourself, of what fulfills you in life and relationships, because you often put all your eggs into one basket, especially if you're growing a business, you're pushing, you're driving that forward. But thinking of health and fitness, thinking about things that excite you, like you do art and creating space, or you go away with your friends, both of you often. But that space for joy, I think, is something.
I think we don't really think, oh, you know, you think you go into your career, you know, you leave school, college, uni, whatever, you go into your career and you think, right, what am I going to do for my work? What, success, whether you consciously think of the word or not, that's what we're thinking about. Like, how can I be successful in life?
Definitely.
And we think so much about transactional things, about what job shall I apply for? Where do I want to live? How much do I want to earn? And all of these things. We don't actually think about what's going to make me happy. And I know we have bills to pay. And of course, with the economy the way it is, it's difficult. But we don't really think about what is it I actually want, what's going to make me happy. So then we go on this trajectory of creating careers and businesses for ourselves where suddenly one day we're like, actually, I feel really fatigued. I feel something feels off. And, you might start with a niggle and you're pushing it down because you've built this thing. It's what you're known for. This is your identity. This is how long you've spent decades creating it. You've got mortgages to pay. You've got kids to get through uni or whatever it is, school. So you keep going, and it just chips away and it chips away. And, it's just this whisper that gets louder and louder, and you don't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
Because it feels uncomfortable. And even though what we're doing is not serving us or making us joyful anymore, it's comfortable in a weird way.
Yeah.
So it's this voice gets louder and louder, and it's about redefining, I think, what that looks like. And I think people shy away from it because it feels hard.
Yeah, and it's scary.
It's not hard to look at it. It's hard to look at that.
But it's not always a wholesale change, is it?
No.
Sometimes it's just a few things
but
you need
also,
to
I suppose
do.
sometimes it like, as much as like, I'm a massive person, like, you can create opportunity and, you're the only person that can change it. I guess for a lot of people, especially if they're like older and have been in a career, like especially a lot of people that you work with, right, who have been in maybe these careers for a long time, like I can imagine that it is really hard to actually walk away from that.
Yeah.
And you must feel kind of trapped, even if you start realising, what have I worked for? There's got to be more to life. Or like, I don't know, maybe they don't have the time off or the boundaries. They're working so many hours. But it's quite difficult, isn't it? Just to
I don't think it's easy just to just go. Yeah.
It is difficult, but it's definitely possible. And like what Lorraine was saying earlier on about one of the things that's important to you is helping people and creating impact. And it's hard to do that in a system
that doesn't allow you,
like CPS, that does not allow you
to do that. And I think, like, when I think about the hospital environment and what you were saying with the person that was ill, like when you're in that, and I've met thousands of people like nearly in the last 10 years, not one person has ever said their driver, like when they're that ill, is work. It's always about family or connection, or why didn't I do this or why didn't I do that.
What was that book we were reading?
The 5 Regrets of the Dying, which you have to read. And it's
Regrets of the Dying.
It's your why then.
It's all about your why. And I've met a lot of young people that were in their 40s that have died that were around my age, and some of our final conversations were, I wish I had more time to do this, or I wish I'd experienced this. So I know it's really hard, but I think we do have to take time and think what is actually really important, because we don't know what's going to happen.
Exactly. And the vision for our life, for the actual life first, whether that's life first, then business and career. Obviously, they support your life, but instead we're putting everything into what work or what we should be doing. And it's like, I think last year we took time to have proper holidays as well. When you're early stage growing your business, you don't always do that, but creating experiences and memories, and how can you bring that into your day to day?
Do you think we just live in a really bloody complicated world now? Like, even I like that, obviously 43, and I find myself saying, when we were younger, it's so different. It's like, oh my God, how am I already saying this? But it's like, if I think back, and it's different because you're looking at it through child's eyes, aren't you? But like, my dad had a job. I'm not saying he liked it, he didn't, but he did it. And my mum she didn't work when we were little. She was at home, the sort of like nurturer, the provider. We'd go on our summer holiday to normal Walton on the Naze or Lyme Regis every summer. It was like textbook. We'd have day trips out to theme parks, but we just spent time with family every weekend. Just family, right? And it's like, there's something really beautiful about that simplicity. They weren't all I'm not saying it's wrong, I'm just saying they weren't all sat there trying to be the next entrepreneur or do you know what I mean? Like that's what I'm saying. I feel like we do live in a world now where
we complicate for ourselves as well.
I feel like I've said this before, like everyone feels like their impact has to be something so big, but it could just be the impact on the people around you.
It's like something I saw a guy when I was coming here today, and there's a man in my neighbourhood and he picks up the litter. He's been doing it since I moved to that neighbourhood about 12, 13 years ago, and my children are younger, so I was living there first before I had them. And, you know, he's there day in day. I mean, he is someone, this might sound crazy, he loves his job. Like, takes pride in what he does. There could be a storm going on. He's out there and he's doing, and he's really, and I said to my daughter, she goes, oh, like, almost started feeling sorry for him a bit. And I said, he loves what he does. I said, the main thing is he takes pride in what he's doing. He takes immense pride in what he's doing. He has everything immaculate. He's so driven and hardworking. I said, you know, for him, in his own way, he loves what he does. And you can see that in what he's doing, which to us might sound insane, but, you know, he loves what he's doing. So purpose for him might be he's found his way of having purpose through the work he does, making his community a nicer place. So it really can be something small.
But I think, like, a lot of my clients, they are you know, successful, and you look at them, you think, wow, you know, they've achieved so much and what have you. But actually redefining what success for them, like, often they're like, but I don't feel particularly happy. You know, on paper I've got everything, I don't feel particularly happy. And I think it's that thing, going back to what you were saying in the CPS, where, you know, you want to create impact, you want to do these amazing things in your career, but the environment doesn't allow you to do that. So it's not necessarily about giving stuff up.
No.
But it's, and going back to what you were saying, Hayley, about your niece's other half, where he doesn't realise sometimes he has choices, you know, and I think we get stuck and we think this is just the way it is, and, you know, life is hard, so, and everyone's working hard, so I'm just got to knuckle down and do it. But actually that isn't the case, you know.
But that's why it's important to be in spaces, whether that's with a coach or mentor, or whether it's with friends, or whether to be in spaces where you are positively challenged, that you can be expanded. Because if we stick in our bubble, you know, we head down, and don't forget, we are programmed to do that, to go and work hard, get a job for life, head down, do that, and it's fear-based as well, that we then step out of it. And the more money these successful people earn, the more their outgoings are. The more the, you know, children's private schools, and bigger mortgages, all of that. So it's you're in this loop, you're on the hamster wheel, and it's hard to get off. So we have to recognise that it is uncomfortable, it is hard, but just being curious, creating space for reflections. And sometimes it just comes at you, like you said, that catalyst moment for you with your mother-in-law. It can be something, could be in COVID, could be health. But I think it's really important for people maybe not to wait for something like a health crisis or something big.
I think you're right. I think normally there's a catalyst for change.
Definitely.
And even though those things might be hard, in making change, they're sometimes easier because they force you to do something. I think the hardest is when things are kind of like just swimming along, you're coasting, and you really want to start making a change. That whisper's getting louder, and you've really got to get your, like, courageous pants on here to step into something different. That's the hardest thing, because that's a choice. You know, that's a real choice.
Been there.
But maybe don't wait for that moment. But I think, just to wrap this up, anyone listening who has that whisper, who is thinking, you know, I'm working really hard, I'm earning the money, or things just aren't feeling good to me anymore. And maybe they did at some point and you've evolved on, but whatever it is that's creating that whisper is, you know, be courageous and allow that space to rise and see what comes up, and allow the void to appear. Stop stuffing your time with a million different things to avoid these feelings, and see what comes up for yourself and take it from there. But
love
nice
it.
summary.
Nice
so thanks for listening today. I hope you've got something out of that, and, you know, I think we can all relate to this on some level at some point.
I definitely can.
And remember to rate, share, review, listen, do the things,
all the
everything.
Do it all. Do all the things. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Have a great week, everybody. Thank you to my co-hosts, and we will see you all again very soon.
Bye bye.
Bye for now.